The minutes from not last week, last meeting, and if there's a motion to adopt, we'll entertain that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are adopted. Items new business, number 1, general fund FY 22 budget revision number 11, Ms. Standridge.
Good afternoon, council.
Hello.
Hello.
We have a long agenda, and I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible. Item number 1, general fund, budget revision number 11. This is a long one in your packet, however, it's very concise in just what it is. It's both the heroes bonus and the COLA that was awarded back in December that we just started paying out in April. That's creating the budgets for both of those things to happen. They have happened, we've just kind of been fronting the money. These are just the budget revisions to reflect them appropriately in documentation. All of the individual line items that you see are for it to happen throughout every single department, all the salaries, withholdings for Medicare, and Social Security, thank you very much. FICA. And all of those things, like to create those budgets in every single department for every single employee. That's why that list is so long.
And it is long, and as she said, it's broken up into two parts. The salary part, both for the heroes bonus and the COLA, and then the benefits, the Medicare, Social Security, et cetera. Becky or Carly, either one, can you just give us the big chunks, the number?
Absolutely. So if you will recall, the heroes bonus, we had 2 tiers that were going to be paid out. The first tier was $2,500 per employee, and that's like kind of to first responders and high risk individuals. We had another $1,250 for tier 2. And so if you want to look at totals, the heroes bonus total for general fund was $2.1 million.
Check. And then the benefit side of the general fund portion was?
That includes benefits.
That includes the benefit piece?
$2.1 million, it includes the benefits.
Okay, and on the water and sewer side?
So that's actually in item number 2 on the
Okay, we can hold off on that.
agenda. Okay.
Okay, any questions on the creation of the budget to pay off the heroes bonus?
And just another big chunk, the COLA for the general fund was just under $500,000, $490,000.
So 2.6 on the general fund side is what we're creating in the line item budget for the heroes bonus.
Heroes bonus and the COLA, yes.
And the COLA, I'm sorry. Mr. Crowe, Mr. Wilson,
Question.
is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion is adopted. Number 2, water and sewer fund, FY 22 budget revision number 3.
Yes, sir. So the water and sewer budget revision is both of those same items, the heroes bonus and the COLA, for the individual employees in the individual departments, but it also encompasses one extra piece that's also in there, which is for the Headworks project that Ms. Michael, she briefed you on in projects committee also. We are within the water and sewer fund. The heroes bonus total was $370,000 approximately, and the COLA was $144,000.
So there's 5, and then the bar screen head
Work at Fletcher's, how much?
251.
The total amount in the water and sewer fund, not just in the water and sewer fund,
Okay,
for the Headworks project is $176,900. Proposing to defund a couple of parts. I'm on page 9 if you want to follow along.
all right.
Proposing to defund the pipe and manhole rehab repair, and then the sanitary sewer flow monitoring analysis, and then a couple of dollars from wages, which is usually to pay for interns and things of that nature. So trying to find some savings, trying to scrounge some savings where we can, and that totals $176,984 that we're proposing to transfer to the water and sewer RFFI to help pay for.
To cover, or help cover the Fletcher problem.
We'll have a couple of pieces that will make that happen, but this is one of them.
So Carl, let me ask you a question. When it comes to the, that 10-year plan that we, how are we checking off the list on what we do with this, current water and sewer, like RFFI and revisions?
So currently, there are no projects from the 10-year plan budgeted in the water and sewer RFI. The first level of 10-year plan was with the bond issuance.
Right.
So when we close on the bond issuance and we will create those budgets, we'll start checking things off of the 10-year plan. But
Gotcha.
we haven't started yet.
Okay. All right.
Great, thank you.
Motion to
Question.
approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item carries. We're on number 3 here, water and sewer reserve for future improvements, budget revision number 8.
So this is just the reverse side of that water and sewer fund revision for the Headworks project. So you'll see the item transferring in from water and sewer fund and then allocating it to the Headworks project. So it's just that secondary piece of it.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Item number 4, water and sewer service fees, budget revision number 5.
So if you will recall, service fees are done on developments within each district. And so whenever developments occur and there is an increased pressure to our system, we then charge the developer that a fee for that. What accounting and finance will do is analyze all the service fees that come in whenever there's a project that it could actually apply to. We will see where the fees have come from within the different districts. This one project, because it is a centralized location within the Fletcher system, it will apply to every single district. So we have accumulated what we can in the sanitary sewer section of the service fees. That total that we have analyzed, we have available is $74,466. We are proposing to then apply that to the Headworks project to be able to pay for it. As you can see, we've got pieces and parts coming in from everywhere to try and get this project to fruition. This is just one of them. You can see on page 23, if you want to look at an analysis of where the funds came from within the different districts, and then what other projects have been funded today to try and where we kind of get down to what we have available to use.
So help me understand, Carlin, if I may, Mr. Chair, when you look at the water sewer by districts, this is the businesses.
So, for example, and I am painfully familiar with it
I'm not.
because of the
Help me.
big student developments going in down
Yeah,
here.
help me.
You remember we struggled, actually before I came on council, so y'all were before that also. How do we apportion to these new big developments their share of the additional burden created by their presence?
Right.
And we came up with impact fees or service fees, or whatever you want to call it. And so that's the mechanism which we use to do it. The difference in those impact fees or service fees and some kind of tax or special assessment, they then are limited to be used in the district that generate them, except for they can be utilized for common, then this is what she's talking about right here, a common plant or facility that services all the districts. Some of that money can be used for that.
But normally, so let's just say, for instance, my district doesn't have many commercial or big businesses. Looking at my total and District 1, 6, and 7, we are the lowest ones on the totem pole. So,
You are.
and then when I look at, when we talk about water and sewer, when we have a big rain or something, everything is flowing southwest, right into my district and your district. And so, yet, the revenue side, water and sewer, there's a bigger need. I think there's gonna be a greater need even in the future. So how do we answer that?
Yeah, I think that's answered in the general water and sewer revenues apportionment, not the impact fees.
Okay,
The volley back of the net would be, yeah, but you don't now have to figure out how to service 400 toilets and beds sitting on 1.5 acres. That's why those impact fees, which are generated by those kind of places, and if it makes you feel any better, I don't feel like they always get used as directly in those districts as they should, but the out is centralized facilities that service everything
okay.
that they're apportioned.
And Mr. Wilson, just to make sure we're clear and on the same page, because
Right.
we use kind of water sewer very broadly.
Give me clarification.
If we're discussing stormwater or
It's
rainwater,
general
we don't have stormwater impact
Okay,
fees. And so
okay.
this is gonna be sanitary sewer
Gotcha.
impact fees, not stormwater.
Okay,
These are like hookup, people that are hooking up to our sewer.
These are
Okay.
And
meters.
if you
Meters,
look in your
right.
district, you'll
Meters.
see a big batch coming in. I
Yeah.
think that's from
Right.
that development.
But we're taking, we're taking these fees and applying it to the development that happens in that
Just-
district, or trying to, right?
That's
To
that's what
respond to
policy
the,
is
to this.
for, yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
okay.
A small portion of that still.
Any other questions? Good discussion.
Thank you, Carly.
Absolutely.
Just have a motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. We are at blah, blah, blah. Number 5, general fund reserve for future improvements, budget revision number 9.
Yes, sir. If you will recall, we, a couple of weeks ago, we made our first, allocation of the general fund surplus transfer
Yeah.
into the, it was the purchase, the acquisition of property out of the airport. Well, this is our second one. This is the Athlink, at the Athlink sinkhole and the work that's being done to be able to remediate that. This is just the engineering portion of that project. We will then probably come back and allocate full amount of construction, during the budget, process with all of our capital.
Excuse me.
But to be able to keep this moving appropriately.
Yeah, Mr. Bonnet, where are we with the Affluent project right now? What you
We
can
are-
say?
We are waiting from our consulting engineers that have gone out, they have completed their boring and their testing, we're waiting on those results to come back. And hopefully we're gonna have them either hopefully by maybe the end of this week or next week. Got any-
What, after you get that, then the next step is to figure out construction and
Yes, one of the things.
getting
we're
and
looking-
fixing it, right?
Yes, one of the things we're looking at based on what they did is, we had talked about, our option had been to realign that pipe, that drainage pipe down
Right.
the street. And that's one of the things that these borings and this studies will show whether that's feasible.
Which no doubt will be more cost effective, correct?
Over the long term, yes.
Yes, and then, I guess the parties that we're dealing with, their things have progressed a little bit positively.
We've kept everyone.
Is that a
in
good
the
way of
loop.
saying that?
Well, we've kept everyone in the loop, but as far as determining, we don't know exactly what we need yet from them. We kept everyone in the loop, but once we figure out what we actually need, that's when we begin those discussions.
Okay.
Until we get final design, we can't
It's
get.
kind of hard to know what we gotta ask for. Okay. Thank you, thank you, Carl.
Oh, absolutely.
That's it, Mr. Chairman, for me.
So like I said, this is just engineering only. Once we have a clear idea of what needs to happen, we'll come back with the full project budget, also to be applied to the surplus transfer amount.
And in big crayon numbers, standards, the surplus piece, 15 or 14?
It was 15 million was the
15.
surplus. We applied 3 million to the RFFI fund balance to get us up to policy.
Check.
And then we did 2.3 million
For the airport land.
for the airport acquisition.
And now 1 for affluent.
Correct.
So 15 minus 3.
So we have about 9.5 left over.
Okay, just under 10 now. Any other questions on this particular item?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Item number 6, Elevate Tuscaloosa Fund Budget Revision number 3, this is the time and materials clause
That
for
Mr.
the-
Witten
for
briefed
the
you on
pro
projects.
formas of the
Yes, sir.
management company.
Yes, sir, and so this is just moving it from one outside services line item, really kind of into the project line item for, the state of Minnesota.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Mr. Lawrence, welcome. Item number 7, approval of agency funding agreement with Tuscaloosa County PATA.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. We'll talk about some 40 buses we just received in. We took about 3 weeks to get them all in. They were built in Riverside, California, but made its way through Atlanta, get the graphics on there, and made it here the last 2 weeks. I believe, yeah, here we go. These just came in. These are low floor buses. I have a slide here in a moment to show you what buses we're replacing. This completes our purchase of now being all low floor model buses instead of step ups. The seating is much better. You're going to see some of that briefly. The provision here is for, basically, we're 2.5 years into a 10-year capital plan of replacing buses and vans. The vans are command response. Supplements are big buses that, and as y'all know, we operate out of the intermodal facility next door, which is located in that town. But the Federal Transit Administration is anticipating that 85% of the cost, total cost, is $1.6 million. So what I mean by low floor, now the way we have it here, that is for ADA assist if you're in a wheelchair or walker or something. But normally this would stay up and in. It just folds out, but it just looked like a pretty cool picture. I could not get the buses up here without significant modification to the doors, so I had to take some great pictures here. But this would actually, the buses kneel, so these 4 complete all 12 buses now. They're all low floor. So as you can imagine, senior citizens, ADA, all of that is quicker in, quicker out, and when we have ADA and wheelchairs and so forth, it is certainly much faster on the roads. This is just an aerial view. You can see the sleekness, the design, more aerodynamic now. The full glass, LED lighting, digital signage. I think there's at least 40 different things we can do with signage. Bike rack is required by FTA. You have to have 2 of those. And there's 2 wheelchairs on each bus. That's what gets you the 85% participation. Driver highlights, I thought was pretty cool. This is a fare box. If anybody's ever ridden our buses, this is actually Recaro seats. So that sounds like a luxury, but they make the best seats in the bus. And you got to imagine these bus drivers or drivers were driving 7 to 8 hours a day. That's like us going to Gulf Shores and back every day, 5 days a week. That's a tough job, a significant tough job. So you have a lot more glass area now, high def 8 camera systems in all of them, which we need that. PA system, backup camera, dispatch radio, GPS locational. You can find out where your bus is if you're riding the bus. You can find out where they are all during the day. Let me show you the interior, very much comfortable seating, non-slip floors, safety handrails, ADA preferred seating, which is required by FTA. 2 wheelchair tie downs, and those are the best in the business that we have. These buses now are $400,000, and when I started at Transit in 2012, they were $350,000. So that is pre-COVID prices. You're looking at about a 30% increase.
We'll end up paying 60 on each of those.
The budget revision, Katie could.
The city is actually going to contribute $95,000.
95?
The rest is.
Yeah, we had an agreement, like, when restoring the operational funding, we didn't have it because, you may recall, may not recall, with the CARES Act, we have a little overlay, so we reserved, looked at it reserved to cover that shortage there.
Was it an agency funding request?
Which one?
The 98?
That's what he's coming today
Okay.
to
Okay.
request.
Yeah, what that is we have a 10-year capital plan to
Okay, yeah.
for replacement of buses, future vans for the next 8 more years.
Okay.
This is coming because this is Elevate money. Obviously, we need to update the council where that money goes. This visual is to show you where this money's going. But 30 passenger vans, if the seats are down like this, that means we're not having wheelchair, but your lifts are right here. You can see the ties and all that. We all do that by foot. Forward assist on some of that priority seating for ADA and senior citizens required by FTA. So as you can see, we take a lot of step by step as FTA requires to get their 85% match on this. This is what the old buses we're replacing are. Let me back up. You can see the seating here now is more forward. A lot more safety involved, nice little floors, much better. Going forward, these are the old ones. You can see they're facing each other. This is not ideal. This is just the way the bus manufacturing did it over the years. We actually have advertising on here, but you see the steps. Okay, so if you, let me look back, I probably should have put these all together, but if you look back, right here, I mean, you have actually a half step because these are not kneel. When they kneel down with this out, that's just for ADA. Then you can see that it is much better for customer ridership. And the seating is just so much better. Just a quick note, this has actually nothing to do today, but if y'all recall, I was here about 6 months ago. As part of this same project, we replaced 2 of our vans with these newer vans and also another big, large bus. And I just wanted to point out that now we have completed all that. Those 2 completed all of our paratransit vans. The smaller buses, and we got into that discussion a few months ago. I think Councilman Busby.
Is that what y'all used to come pick up that veteran that was
Yes, that's the
quadriplegic?
exact same van right there. That's actually, I think, the one that came and got that Marine and took him to that. But we are now the only public transit system in the southeast region for FTA that is all green energy, green fuel. These are all propane powered. We have 9 of them. They support our fixed routes, and as required, it's an FTA requirement. These are for our citizens that cannot physically get to a bus stop. Well, they actually may be legally blind or sight of hearing or whatever, but you know, dialysis, doctor visits and all that, it really doesn't have anything on the bearing of today, but you kind of see these more smaller ones in town. I just want to point out that we are zero emission on all those. You know, there's a big push now for electric, but this propane's been around for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We're the only one in the southeast that has a full fleet of that. So we're proud of that fact that these are zero emission buses. You don't get as good as gas mileage, but the price per gallon is 55 cents per gallon. So it more than makes up for that. But that's just an informational slide. And just to leave it there with question and comment.
Russell, what's the total fleet look like now?
Okay, we have 12
12 of the big full-size
12
buses?
full buses, and we have 9 of the ADA system. That's a total of 21.
And is there anything in between those? Are there vans?
No, well, we have 2 passenger vans that our drivers, since we run 13 hours a day, so our bus drivers, during the day, they'll swap out. Our shop is out of Hargrove Road by the health department across from Bowers Park. That's where we stage every evening. And so our 7 or 8 of the fixed routes, our vans are all over town. No matter where you are in the city, we got vans. Y'all have to see them every day. I see them most days running around town. But there's 21 total. The only ones in between of these, you know, just almost like a church van, just a passenger van that holds about 12. Yeah. We have 2 of those in the fleet, and that's for drivers to come back and forth to shift change. Because our buses, we don't go out to the shop to get drivers. We shift change right out here. And that's where all our transfers come from. So all the buses come through. You can transfer from bus to bus, and that is free, by the way. And we're still, I've been there 10 years, going on 11. We're still charging $1 a ride. 50 cents for ADA, 50 cents for veterans, and 50 cents, which is reduced fare for.
And how do you decide, or do you have the flexibility to decide on what mix of vehicles you need for the fleet?
Well,
By mix, I mean
yes.
between the big ones and the less big
Well,
ones.
it's all based on your route itself. So you're going to use on the public transportation, the mass transit side, you're going to use the larger buses. ADA federal mandates, as you know, 40, 50 years ago, I guess, requires that we paratransit or coexist for our ADA customers that within 3/4 mile of that bus stop cannot physically get to the bus stop. That provides curb-to-curb service. That charges $2, but it's just a requirement by FTA to charge that. We base our fixed routes on what we need, based on our fixed buses, based on our fixed routes. Our demand response, some days there's 6 or 7 of those vans out there, depending on our workload. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays is a good example. We do a ton more dialysis on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, because it's every other day. We go to every dialysis place in Tuscaloosa. Every one of them. We're doing them. There's some days we're doing at least 60 dialysis patients a day.
But they have to live within 3/4 miles.
They have to live within 3/4 mile of a bus stop, but keep in mind, there's 250 bus stops in town, so that's pretty much covers everybody. Because and that's within the route, not just the bus stop, but within the route of the bus stop. So, we're going down,
You'd be hard pressed to find a place not in 3/4
I agree, yeah, with
miles.
250
Well, if
bus stops.
you go out Hargrove Road East, y'all don't
If you
run
go
that
out
way.
Hargrove Road East on out into that way, if you live in the city of Tuscaloosa, that 3/4 mile, yes, that is kind of a fine line, but the city of Tuscaloosa funds us. The city of Tuscaloosa funds us.
Gotcha.
So they're gonna figure out a way
We figure out a way.
to make it work.
So if somebody called you and they had a need, you might.
So how many
That's profile.
drivers,
So we have,
That
8
sounds
and 8,
That's
see, 8 and 8,
maybe a
16
mile or
on the
two.
buses. And we have 7 on the vans. 6
and
or
are you
7.
having trouble finding,
Oh,
getting
yeah,
and
we're
keeping?
just like everybody else, Councilman. We're competing with drivers, with everybody in town. We have to have CDL with passenger enforcement. That is a difficult thing, because you have to take that extra step to get that.
That's an extra test, isn't it?
It is an extra step. Now, we starting an apprenticeship, and we're looking at maybe a little bit lower wage, but yet preparing you to take that final step. And if you pass that within a certain amount of time, say 6 months or 9 months, we're working on that idea now, that we might see some general interest, but we're just like everybody.
City pay that? I mean, would pay that cost for the person?
Well, you
to
supply us
take it or-
funding every month.
Yeah.
We take that money, which is called local match money, and we go get federal dollars with that. The average is about 30% local match to 70% federal dollars. If you look at it like this, they provide 85% for a bus or van, whereas like a driver itself on a bus might be 50-50 share. It averages out to about 31%.
As part of that training dollars too, like if you had to do an, I guess.
Well,
But then the apprentice side of that, if you hired somebody and, I
If
mean,
we
I was
were-
just thinking that'd be a good recruiting
Well,
tool that we're gonna pay
it is.
for you to
They
get
would have
that.
to go to the van first, because you have to be under that
And
15
step.
passenger to do that. So they're not gonna be on a fixed route. They could go out and train on it, but you have to have that passenger endorsement to get on the bigger buses. And the vans, our vans now are 15+1, so we're required, but if you're doing an apprenticeship, during that training period, generally within 30 to 45 days with some training and some study. And their biggest, what I'm told, the biggest hurdle of getting the CDL with passenger endorsements is just knowing the instruments and things like that. Driving's the easy part. And then some of the testing can be difficult, because the test changes pretty often. It's just like any standardized test.
You know, I think this is a great service that we give to the community. You mentioned that there are 250 bus stops. Seeing that the heat index and things of that nature, are all bus stops equipped for perhaps those seniors who may ride the bus to sit down in a shaded area? Because I saw that there are some places that can sit, but I was riding the other day and in a particular area, and I saw a man on a push chair that is like a stroke. Yeah, and it was 100 degrees outside.
Tough week last week.
Yeah,
Tough week Friday.
yeah. And so my concern is,
Some are, some are not.
yeah, so what do we need to do as a council to kind of, have a stop where people can sit under out of inclement weather,
Well,
especially
we-
rain and heat.
Yes, we do have, I checked my figure, but I believe we have about an older grant. We've done this periodically, and I know that, you're fairly new.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Crowe, Mr. Fell, fairly new, Mr. Butler, you're considered older. You know,
Ravens are old here.
But you know,
Yeah, Ravens are
about- and now, Ms. Huff, you would know that over the years, we
Kids
have
are real
bought
old
four at a
bit.
time at these bus shelters.
Yeah.
For about $4,600 each. But
Wow.
feds will pay 80% of that cost.
Wow.
We have $75,000 still left in the grant if the city matched that. We might could go out there and get about another 20.
Matched it with the 15%
Yeah,
match.
yeah, 20 on capital.
And you, well, you know, Counselor, we
Yeah.
have replaced some of these before
Yeah.
too, so are you talking about
No,
just
I'm talking about
doing
some that-
new ones?
I'm
or
talking about some
replacing
that,
Yeah,
I
some
was
of
in
the
the place,
areas.
some of them don't even have any, they just have a
Upgrading
sign that say
Okay.
Triland.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there's some that don't have no,
Upgrading
Some of
existing.
those,
Making
Upgrading
them or
existing.
just, or existing,
well, no,
like change them and
this,
make them better.
this was, the person that I saw, this person was coming to where he saw a Tuscaloosa trolley sign, no shed, and it was 100-degree weather.
So like, for example, like across from Cash Savers or Skyland Park, you know, the bus routes over there don't have any benches. So
Yeah.
that's like coming out of my neighborhood.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that will depend, sometimes in these situations, we'd like to put a bench there, but you're gonna get into that right away.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Now, I know one in particular is down there by, can I say Harry's Farm?
Okay, yes,
Okay.
yes, that's me.
You know, the housing, just
Mhm.
right across from there.
Mhm.
Benita
Benita
Sears, yes,
Sears.
and that's been a request.
We
yeah.
have requested, but
Yeah.
there's nothing we can do. You hate to say there's nothing you can do, but that right of way, those poles.
Yes,
city
sir.
Right of way.
Yes,
it's
sir.
almost encroaching right on the.
Okay.
So you don't have space there to put any kind of like shelter there. Some of that can play into this, and some of this, when you're coming into an intersection, you have to have that line of sight.
Okay.
If you're coming in and you have like a stop sign here, you have to have, I'm not an engineer, but there's a degree of view, because if you put a shelter there, somebody pulls out, we would be liable.
And they
City
have to
also
be on
would
a
be
certain
liable.
side of the road, correct?
Exactly.
Well, you
But
know,
we're right side buses, that's
Right.
just standard in our industries, right side.
well, I would, Mr. Chairperson, like for us to have them to explore the opportunities for,
Look,
for
I've
that.
enjoyed
for that.
hearing, I didn't know much about it, so
Yeah.
I'm perfectly willing.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't know
think
what it would
probably
look like.
Projects
Yeah,
would-
Mr. Crowe,
would be
what you think?
The place to
Absolutely.
come
We've
in.
got the
Yeah.
federal
Yeah.
side.
If you've got the
Yeah.
chance, you've already got an opening with that, we'd be crazy to not look at that.
Yeah, I think we need to look at that.
I think we have at least 2 more years on that grant.
Yes, sir.
You get better pricing the more you buy.
Yes, sir.
Now, we haven't priced them in 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and y'all know how things are.
Inflation, right. I
What do
understand.
they use, what do they use for
Around 4,500
a piece?
This commercial stuff.
80-20,
Now,
right?
keep in mind, we have to have
80-20.
so much concrete in this, and you have to have some curb and gutter done, and you have to be always knowledgeable of ADA.
And I think that's a good thing, and I want us to be able to, as we increase in making sure that our fleet is where it needs to be, then I would also want us to be able to make sure that where our fleet goes, that there are noticeable places, that can be
It
explored.
wouldn't take me and Jesse one day and a half to ride around and look for the hot spots.
Yes, sir.
Especially on a hot
Yeah.
day in the future. But here's the deal, if we have, say, $75,000, 20%, you look at it, getting $100,000 worth of stuff. So if we can
Yeah.
identify, say, 10 to 15 to 20 hot spots.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, it's not gonna be indicative of just one district.
Right.
Because we're all
I just-
over.
yeah, it's all over.
But there might be some opportunities.
So I would,
Yeah.
I would support hearing that. I am gonna, today, I think I'm gonna try to get you your money you're asking
We would
for now.
appreciate that, yes. We'd like to put them in service.
And then we've gotta hear the agency initial briefing, because I know, Ms. Howard has got a full public
I do.
safety agenda today. I'm gonna
Right.
try to hand off to her relatively on time.
Oh, yeah.
So today, we're being asked to approve the 60, 60, 60, and 60, because our share And Katie Beth, am I reading this right? That leaves 95 still in the Elevate account for this?
Actually, 95 is available today before approving this, and you're being asked to approve spending that entire amount.
The entire
So
90,
The entire
the
95,000.
4 times 60 plus the 95?
No,
Yeah, let me
Mr.
explain.
Lawrence's available budget in his agency will cover the shortfall between the 95,000 that Elevate will pay and the roughly
got you.
241,000 that
Yeah,
he
when our,
owes.
when our monthly was
I got you.
reinstated back in January 1, we had an overlay of the CARES Act that was paying 100%, so we booked that into a reserve to cover that shortfall. You're helping that shortfall, we're all good.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You're done, Mr. Lawrence.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank y'all.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
So again, we've got about 7 minutes before Ms. Howard's about to start. This is sort of the initial blush at agency funding. This is not meant to be the deep dive, let's get it all right, but here's first flash of what it's starting to look like.
Yeah, let's do this in 5 minutes, now we have plenty of transition time. So what you have in front of you is just the first listing of who has applied for what within agency funding. I'm also gonna introduce, London Jenkins is over here. He is going to be he's our Associate Director of Accounting and Financial Reporting. He will be the one to kind of shepherd all of the agencies and the council through this process this year. And so he's kind of put together this listing about all the applications that have been filed, and then you can kind of see what they've requested this year versus what they were funded last year, and then their increases in funding. I'm also supposed to tell you that via the process, in a couple of weeks, we're gonna need to know which agencies you're gonna wanna hear from. If you want presentations from any agencies, then we need to schedule that with them and kind of have them available when you want to hear from them and what you want to hear from them, so they can prepare for that.
So, yeah,
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Chair or Carly. I'm kind of, I wouldn't want to not hear from everyone, because Councilor Howard may have a agency that I may not even be thinking about, or Mr. Fail, and they may have that person, and I don't want anybody to get left out. That's my concern when it comes to presenting to Finance Committee. I feel that if this is Tuscaloosa City's money, and I want to hear, if they want to present, I want to hear from them. I don't want to kind of put people in a box. That's just me. I just want you to know my sentiments forthright. I think that if you want to present, it's the city's revenue that we're allocating, that we're being stewards over. And if you want to come and present, check with the people and be put on the schedule.
I think we'll have, I appreciate you being forthright about that. Last year, we scheduled
It was a
for
lot.
the Finance Committee
All
Yeah.
of them.
It was
a real deep dive.
Yeah.
And I did that because we had, what was it, three? We had a lot of new folks on council, and I thought we needed that little dunking down into it. But that's multiple days of hearings, many of which are they're kind of layups. But we'll, as a council and as a finance committee, we'll certainly have that discussion
Right.
and decide that we want to just hear from certain agencies by exception. There might be the 4 or 5 biggies, and then, there's 2 or 3 down here that don't make any sense, or somebody doesn't understand, or got left out, that we might ask for too. But I'm completely open to that conversson.
And
I
then-
have not even,
This
you
is
gave
the
me this
first time that anybody's
yesterday.
seen any of this.
I hadn't even been down through the lines in it yet.
One of the things, Mr. Chairman, that I guess we all were walking in the door last year
Right.
when we started looking at this. I know that we went through those hearings, and then we were presented with the mayor's budget. One way we can do this too, I think, is just be more active in what we'd like to see funding wise. If you want to see somebody here, let's have them here. But this is the second year we've done the budget stuff, I'd like to be, I guess, look at some of the stuff and say, you know, I'd like to see this funded this way.
Right.
Because we didn't do a lot of that last time.
Right.
I think it
Yeah.
would be great if we were presented that budget and then we all kind of sit here in the room and we talk through, we'd like to see whatever and present it back to Walt, say, hey, Walt, we'd like to put more money here, or Carly, y'all help us look at this
Right.
and try to come to more a consensus.
Give,
And if there's issues with new people, I think anybody that's new ought to come, Mr. Chairman, before us, because there's a handful of people that are new people.
I do
I'd like
like
to
that.
see them
I like
come
that
and-
idea, yeah.
and ask us for funding, but I'd like to see us more involved in what the final dollar amount is on.
at the
on
big
this.
level or at the individual
Well,
allocation?
I think it,
I would see our role more as, not completely as, but more as, all right, there's your big number. Give us a recommended divvying up of it.
well, and I think, again, I wish Walt was here, because I don't know that he'd answer this question. But when you look, not yet, he will, but looking at this number of where we were on the funded amount, what are we looking to fund this year?
Right.
Are we gonna say, I don't know, I'm just saying, if we funded 12.1 last year, are we planning on funding 12.5, or planning on I think that's the starting point that the mayor will tell us,
Sure.
and then give us where we are, and then, I guess, see what areas we'd like to see, but I'd like to see anybody that's new on here
Right.
come to us, and maybe a couple of the bigger funders,
And there's the
Mr. Chairman,
note
like
in red.
Para and the
Oh,
city
we're-
board.
we're-
and-
Paras,
You
This
know,
is given the
and the-
big 4 or 5.
And, right, and
And-
tourism and the public library, but we might could do that over a couple of 2 or 3 finance meetings too, Mr. Chairman, where we don't have to have another call meeting, or maybe
Right.
we could just have one call meeting.
We're
And
still
then-
gonna,
And,
go ahead.
and then when you look at special appropriations, it's 4 areas on there that total 614,000, but we don't know what those special appropriations are. So I think it'd be good to, Mr. Finance Chair, hear from, what are those, who are they? What is their vision? What are they gonna do with these funds? How will what we give them impact? So if you look on page, well, at the beginning, you see,
The first.
under Murphy, special appropriations, under Tuscaloosa City School Board, special appropriations, under Tuscaloosa, under Para, special appropriations, excuse me, it's 5, oh wow.
Public library.
Under public library, so it's over $1 million. And then
Under the
under
transit authority.
transit authority. So I think, if we're gonna do it that way, also put things into a categorical, whether it's youth services, senior services, so that when we're listening, we can understand whether somebody's doing duplicative services or different services, which will give, for me, clarity and, for me. So when I make my vote, I'll be informed.
I personally do not want to hear from every agency, but duplicating services is very important, and I wanna
Right.
make sure that we don't as much as possible.
Right.
Because, funding is important, so if we had to listen to all of them to make sure they're not duplicating services, then that's fine, but if not, some of these agencies I've already started to meet with, even the new ones.
Okay.
So I'm down with whatever. I would prefer not to meet with everybody.
I would prefer not to meet with everybody, but this is important.
It is, yes.
So-
yes.
Whatever extra time we have to put into it, we will. We've still got, related to the event center and Saban Center, we've still got some pretty significant special called finance sessions. Becky, you're on your feet. Is that meaningful?
I just wanna add one thing. London has compiled kind of a book, similar to what you said last year,
Yeah,
of all
perfect.
the applications. So he's gonna send that out digitally. You should get that this afternoon.
That'd be good.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Okay.
On what they've asked for versus, what they plan on spending that on. So you should see that today.
And what do you, I can't sit around. So in terms of the individual agency applicants, what are you seeing in front of you in terms of their financials?
So I do a summary recap sheet on every application, and this included in the agency funding book is the cover sheet of their application. So you'll see that this afternoon.
But I don't are you seeing their last 3 years' financials?
They provide their most recent audit.
They provide what?
Their most recent, financial audit.
Their
is
metrics?
Audit.
Their most recent audited financial statements, and so what London does is for every single, agency that files an application, he'll do a summary sheet that will include like what they're asking for, what some of their financial information from their audited financials will show us, and so it's gonna be on a summary sheet for every single one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and I apologize, I really wanna
If you
get
get out your way.
Raven
Oh,
started
yeah.
on
Yeah,
time, 'cause-
okay.
but here's first
This
blush.
is our money that's in there.
Everybody go back in your corner and,
Yeah.
figure out what you wanna come out.
Yes, sir.
One last thing I will, and this has something to do with agencies, but this was from questions that you had at pre-council for bond issues.
Right.
Do you want me to go through numbers with you, or do you, I just have a quick sheet?
You have a quick sheet for the three, I mean, what's,
So generally, our.
in real money, what came in?
So for the 2020 what we have come in is $40,799,542.
All right.
That's
40.
the Elevate portion. And
Okay.
then the water and sewer portion was $37,922,864.
All right, 40.7 and 38, okay?
That includes premium, discount, and issuance fees.
Got
So
it.
we will have some that kind of come off the top of that anyway.
So that's got the issuance fees already taken out of it?
Pretty good.
No, that includes the issuance fees.
Oh, before they've come out?
Before they come out, yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, and
I have
final
those if you-
offering statement is ready, or,
Yes, it's ready.
okay, I'd like a copy.
Okay, I'll just make you a copy of this one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Carly.
Mr. Chairman, before we leave,
Yeah.
are we in agreement that anybody that's new on here, we want them to present? And then the top, what did we do last time, we always
Top
do the
four or
top 4 or 5?
five.
And then figure out, just to give Carly and them direction to go on and start getting that information out.
Well, yeah,
For y'all to
I think it's a pretty easy one to say the new ones present,
Yeah.
okay? Now, we can
Yeah.
continue the discussion on how many other ones present.
Let's continue that discussion.
That's good.
Okay?
All right. Any other business for the finance committee?
Motion adjourned.
So, second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Finance is adjourned.